Today, we're driving the Rolls-Royce Cullinan Series 2, a luxury SUV that has been subtly updated, yet still makes the same unmistakable entrance. It's the kind of vehicle that rolls up to a 5-star hotel, and the gentleman who steps out of it instantly looks like the sort of person you'd want to share a fine steak dinner with. He's classy, composed, and clearly living a life we'd like to imagine ourselves in, just for a moment. That presence? That mystique? According to Rolls-Royce, it all begins and ends with one word. It starts with a C and ends with NT. Clients. Yes, clients. And it's those very clients, since the birth of the Cullinan, who have transformed the Rolls-Royce customer base. Thanks to this SUV, the average Rolls buyer has gotten younger, and that makes sense, because younger buyers are typically the ones putting massive 23-inch wheels on these, often compromising ride comfort for the sake of street presence. But now, Rolls-Royce has done it for them. Yes, straight from the factory, the Cullinan Black Badge Series 2 comes with 23-inch wheels. So if the ride's a little harsher, well, at least you didn't ruin it yourself. They knew what the clientele wanted, and they delivered. It's a generational shift. We're no longer talking about buyers in their late 50s. Now they're in their 40s, and they want dark, dramatic, and bold. Enter the Black Badge Series 2, which, according to Rolls-Royce, marks a new dawn for the brand. They claim it transcends the darkness and moves into the light. We actually wrote LOL in our notes after reading that, because, quite frankly, what does that even mean? No one knows. Not even Rolls-Royce, probably. Also, why is it called Black Badge if it's supposed to be moving into the light? Everything here is black. The paint, the interior, the wheels. Guess the name of the paint? Moonlit Obsidian? Champagne Shadow? No, just black. Literally. Black. And this particular Cullinan? It's the most expensive SUV money can buy. While the base price of the Black Badge starts around $470,000 US, this one, as optioned, comes in at a staggering $568,000. But you do get more power, and more presence, and of course, more stuff. A lot of stuff. And if you're wondering, why not just go for a Ferrari Purosang, a DBX 707, or a Bentayga Mulliner? Forget it. This Cullinan is the ultimate, because in North America, SUV is king. And if you're going to be royalty, this is the throne. Visually, the Series 2 update brings some subtle changes outside and inside. But what matters most are the details. The tactile sense of opulence that only Rolls-Royce delivers. And before we get into that, I do want to show you my module later. Yes, my module. It's about $10,000, and it's absolutely delightful. But first, let's drive it, and then we'll come back and talk modules and materials. And now, we depart our palace, in absolute, whisper-quiet serenity. This cabin is so quiet, you can literally hear a pin drop. And that's no accident. It's been engineered to be a sanctum on wheels. One of the highlights? This massive pillar-to-pillar glass panel display, which Rolls-Royce is extremely proud of. It's about a $20,000 option, and it looks like it belongs in a tech executive's dream office. Also, have you ever seen the spirit of ecstasy integrated into the analog clock before? Because we haven't. That's new for Series 2, and it's very Rolls. Refined, subtle, unnecessary, but glorious. As for the rest of the cabin, it's quite the vibe. We've seen Cullinans with white leather, purple piping, and enough ambient lighting to host a wedding, but this one? It's more majestic nightclub than aristocratic lounge. There's carbon fiber across the dash, something that, to us, feels a little Audi RS5. It's not exactly what we expect from Rolls-Royce. Yes, we understand, it's a Black Badge, so it's meant to be edgy. But for a brand that historically prides itself on bespoke elegance, the inclusion of carbon fiber feels like it's trying a bit too hard. That said, the craftsmanship of the carbon weave is impressive, and we can respect the execution, even if the concept feels a little misplaced. Now, the seats. In a standard Series 2 Cullinan, you can spec a new woven seat fabric. Rolls calls it double twill, and it's made with miles upon miles of thread. It's meant to be a vegan-friendly alternative to leather, while still being ultra-premium. And there's also a new cloud perforation pattern, inspired by the actual clouds floating over the Rolls-Royce factory in Goodwood. Every cloud pattern is the same, they say. It's poetic, if you squint. But let's be honest, they're just clouds. Leather clouds. The rest of the interior borrows heavily from the all-electric Rolls-Royce Spectre, with a new digital gauge cluster and updated tech. The gauge layout is finally symmetrical. The old one felt like it had been crushed downward for no reason. This one? It looks proper. But we do miss the classic analog dials, because Rolls-Royce used to be one of the last bastions of beautiful, physical gauges. Digital may be the future, but it doesn't always feel timeless. But let's talk about how it drives. Under the hood is a twin-turbocharged V12, smooth, silent, and powerful. When you press the throttle, there's a surge of torque, but what's more impressive is the composure. Despite its massive size, the Cullinan stays level through corners, as if it's being held up by magic. It's soft, yes, but not in a floaty, Lexus LX kind of way. It doesn't wallow like a barge, it glides with control. It's wafting, in the Rolls-Royce tradition, but with far more stability and dynamic confidence than you'd expect from a vehicle this tall. It's not trying to be sporty, it's trying to be effortless. And in that, it succeeds completely. This is really, really cool. Like, genuinely impressive. The back seats, let's start there. They're absurdly comfortable. Not just luxury SUV, comfortable, but genuinely plush in a way that makes you forget you're in a moving vehicle at all. And there are so many ways to spec out the rear seating now, much more than before. In our particular car, we have the theater package, and for the first time ever, the rear screens can now display content from two separate sources. That's right, each passenger can watch their own media independently, which, while a basic feature in most mainstream vehicles now, is somehow a revolution here. But the thing is, and I say this with affection, who cares if it's the first time? The excitement feels a bit irrelevant when you remember that this upgrade is only a game changer for the 22 people on Earth who already owned the first generation Cullinan and had to deal with the inconvenience of shared content. So yes, for those select few, congratulations. You're finally free to stream your discreet billionaire content without interruption. Now, apparently the exhaust note is louder on this version. I can hear it slightly. It gives off a muted burble even when revved at idle. But honestly, who asked for a louder Cullinan? I don't quite get the appeal of more noise in a vehicle that's otherwise engineered to isolate you from every other aspect of reality. But sure, it's a black badge, so more power is part of the deal. Officially, it's rated at 592 horsepower, which is up from the standard Cullinan's 563. Torque is a hearty 627 lb-ft, which, again, is a bump. It's potent, yes, but the real story isn't the numbers, it's the feel. Even with all that torque, you still get this sense of absolute calm as you glide over the tarmac. Well, almost glide. Here's the thing, over small cracks and imperfections in the road, you still feel something. Not harshness, per se, but a detectable texture that arguably doesn't belong in a Rolls-Royce. You hear the click of the tires, you sense that micro shudder through the floorboards, and it just shouldn't be there. You're supposed to be entirely insulated. This is a vehicle for people who prefer their ecstasy dark, and their sensory experience sterile. Personally, I want the automotive equivalent of a blacked-out rave hosted in the VIP room of the afterlife, not to feel the contours of a pothole. Visually, though, this thing is wild. That black badge aesthetic makes the Cullinan look demonic in the best way. And then, for contrast, you get these beautifully done yellow accents. The specific yellow here is called Forge Yellow, and yes, you're paying for it. You're paying for everything, including Forge Yellow perforations in the seats. That's not a joke. For those watching the video, the leather surface is black, but the interior of each little perforated hole is Forge Yellow, so when you see the seats from an angle, that yellow subtly peeks through. It's exquisite detail. Rolls-Royce doesn't just build seats, they craft conversations. But this car transforms after dark. Right now, we're seeing it in daylight, and it's still stunning, but it's not in its element. At night, the shooting star headliner comes alive. And yes, each fiber optic light is still placed by hand, one by one, by a craftsman, or craftswoman, let's be fair, who probably had to sign away their evenings to get the constellation correct. It lights the cabin in this angelic glow that makes even the most cynical passenger feel like royalty. That's when you cue the sound system, a $11,000 option, and let the bass reverberate through your bones like a cathedral choir made of subwoofers. Now look, we've poked a bit of fun at the target audience here, and we'll keep doing that because, frankly, they're rich enough not to care. But the reality is this, it's an incredibly nice vehicle. If you have the means, and you want the absolute top-tier SUV experience, I understand the appeal. As a passenger though, if I had unlimited wealth, I'd still choose the back seat of a new BMW 7 Series. Or, better yet, a Phantom. I didn't even know that was an option until we got here. But now that I do, yeah, Phantom every time. The 7 Series has a fabulous rear experience too. The Maybach GLS might offer more toys, but the Cullinan's rear cabin? It's just nicer. More restrained. More serene. But let's talk about exterior design. Can you put a price on looking post-opulent? Yes. Yes, you can, and we will. By the way, I just watched you manually close the door. Are you okay? You know there's a button for that. Sometimes it doesn't work unless you give it a proper pinch. Anyway, from the inside, this car feels as massive as it looks from the outside. And yes, the front end has been updated. When I first saw the photos, I thought they'd ruined it. I said so on Instagram. And honestly, in silver, maybe they did. But in black, it kind of works. There's a new V-shaped sculpt on the front fascia that's supposedly inspired by sports yachts. I'm not sure what sports yachts have to do with this. All I see is a canoe. But hey, this is the design language we're dealing with. There are other updates too. The grille lights up now. I hate it. But it's happening. Welcome to the future. Illuminated grills are now a thing, and we just have to live with it. The wheels, by the way, are 23-inch billet monsters, and yes, they're a $10,000 option. The brake calipers in forged yellow? $4,500. And the paint? Black, but somehow still $13,000. That's right. 13 grand for black paint. What happens if you don't pay for it? Do they just hand you a bare steel Cullinan like it's a Cybertruck? Inside, we have to talk about the rear seat module. This isn't just a center console, it's a statement. It's your customizable command center, where you can choose champagne storage, work tables, or even a luxury picnic kit. Just press and hold, and the module glides open with perfect theatrical timing. It says Cullinan on it, just in case you forgot. And yes, it's $10,000, but honestly it doesn't feel insane for a Rolls-Royce. Everything is beautifully machined, elegantly executed. You get in, kick your legs out, and for a moment, you feel both powerful and bizarrely, like a child. Your feet dangle. It's charming and a bit ridiculous. But that's the Cullinan Black Badge Series too. It didn't need to exist, but it does because clients exist. And what are those clients going to drive? A G-Wagon? A Cybertruck? No. They need this. They demand it. And while the Cullinan is not perfect, the 23-inch wheels compromise ride comfort, and it's arguably less refined than a Phantom, it is still the best SUV in the world. Not because it's practical, not because it's logical, but because it's the best by feel. It delivers an experience, an aura, that no other SUV can replicate. And yes, it costs more, sometimes double what the next best SUV might cost. But when you want the best, and you want people to know you have the best, this is the one you buy. Even if you're just going to kick your legs awkwardly from the back seat and wonder aloud, did I really need that $10,000 module? The answer, of course, is yes. If you're a Rolls-Royce client, the price is part of the performance. Money's weird like that.